Don't worry, bro. I got a Lego box behind me, man. My kid plays with
Mm,
it, So
who cares? Just checking. All right. What's going on?
not much, man. Just work, work, work. Just paying taxes and getting no getting no returns for them. So there
What
you
do you
go,
mean?
man. That's the story.
Don't
Nothing
you
much,
have
man.
public health?
We have public health, but I never had to use it, man. So God forbid if I have to use it. Oh man, it's not that. Look, yesterday yesterday I went for an X-ray. Um,
Uh-oh.
I went to see a dentist. They told me, "Oh, you need to get X-ray done. You might have gum disease or something." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I went to get an X-ray done. It took me like the amount of people that were lined up to get the X-rays. I mean, my X-ray was quick. It wasn't that long. And
Mm-hmm.
just close to my house, there was an X-ray place. I popped in, got my X-ray done, came out. But they were churning it out like a factory, bro. It was like a factory. People were just walking in, ka-ting, ka-ching. It's like the system was paying for it.
Mm.
So if the system is paying for it, that's a lot of X-rays, man. A lot of X-rays. I saw at least
Okay.
like 30, 40 people in the span of 30 minutes. About 30, 40. It was like it was like a X-ray shop, bro. They had 10 or 7 rooms, and they all were doing X-rays around the clock. So the girl who did my X-ray, she said like, yeah, all I do all day just do X-rays.
Extras.
Yeah. Back in the day when I was growing up, you would have this huge room where they would go and do an X-ray, and you would be the only person sitting there waiting. Back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
there was not that many X-rays done, but now it's like doctors have got into the whole idea of that. I guess they're just trying. What's the word for it? Being careful or just
Being
being
safe.
diligent. Being safe. They see anything even a little bit um, flaky or something that sounds okay could be a problem. They go like, okay, go do tests. So I think
No, no.
it's probably not a bad thing. But the thing is very time consuming. You go through a lot of tests, blood tests, EA test, O test. So look, I've been looking at some of the stuff that you sent me today morning. I was looking at
I
the
sent you.
what is it? The EV one, the EV, the guy, the UK. What's
Oh
his
yeah.
name, man? Yeah, I've never seen that channel
JSM.
before. Yeah, the guy
That's
who
good.
does car reviews and stuff like that. I think he was talking about EV. So some of the stuff that he talks about, even in Australia, it's happening. We don't have a
Mm.
toll system for different cars. It's the same one. But technically speaking, they could do that because I have a tag, right? You're driving, you go over a bridge, it scans, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
technically, the tag is linked to the number plate, and number plates have EV written on them, or number plates are registered that this number plate is driving an EV. So if they wanted, they could come up with some kind of a toll or a tax for it. But some of the stuff he was talking about is ridiculous, man. Here, I pay the government tax on how many kilometers I drive on my EV.
Right.
So although I'm not going to the petrol station, I'm paying registration for the whole year. So I pay for the cars, they call it rego here, registration for the entire year.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition to that, I have to pay to drive around. So
Mm.
every 3 months, they ask me, they look at my odometer and they look at how many kilometers I've driven, and then they tax me for driving an EV. Yeah, bro.
What?
Yeah, so it is actually it's not that uncommon. It's pretty common. Like it's such a
What?
shit law. Yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of people have actually said and mentioned it that look, this is a stupid law. It should not be there. If you want EV adoption in our country, you need to stop this. This is bullshit, right? But their argument is this that when you go to fill up petrol, we're actually charging you tax from the petrol. But now you're using your own electricity. You got your own solar, whatever. So fuck, we're gonna fucking charge you. We're gonna fucking tax you, right? you know?
Oh, I
Yeah,
see.
bro. So when I looked at that video, I was like, okay, there's something I would want to
It's
talk about.
very relevant, I guess.
Yeah, but look,
Especially,
but like when he talks about supercharging, it is relevant. But when he talks about supercharging, if you think about it, I mean, fast charging, the way he says that you can't, he is kind of wrong about certain things in the sense that yes,
that's UK.
Correct.
different
In the
market.
UK, yeah, in the UK, from what he's talking about, it makes complete sense. It is a problem at this time, but it's a big but and a big if as well. If the government addresses that issue, because when you're moving from one kind of infrastructure, like at the moment, everything is built for petrol, roads, traffic, bridging, everything. The whole transport system is built around diesel and oil and jet fuel, right? Now, if you're going to move from that to electric, it's going to take a lot of time. Now, thing is that you can't expect a company to do it. Companies can only make the car, but the
Mm.
charging and how you get the electricity from the grid to these people who want to use it, and then the balancing of electricity,
Mm-hmm.
right? At the moment, there are steps. So when you go above, in Australia, there are some plans. He talked about something on the step. I'm not sure if they have it in Canada. They probably do. So if you use it, it is mostly in gas and water. If you use this much water, they charge you a certain amount. Once you go above into the second tier, they charge you more. And third, they have that in the subcontinent as well. In Australia, you can choose a stepped plan where it charges you less to begin with, but if you cross a certain phase or tier, they charge you even more. So what is happening is
Wow.
when you charge your car at home, your electricity usage goes up. And they are not able to differentiate कि भाई ये electric car usage है or ये normal usage है, home usage. So for the things that they should be incentivizing you, they're not able to, incentivize you. So the thing is, the whole system is not there because when they built electric cars, all the lobbyists and all the the petrol companies or the companies that build cars, they
Mm.
laughed at the idea that, oh, who's going to drive electric cars? Fuck it. Now, if the government was made to believe that, bhai, electric cars are coming and we need to start preparing for next 10, 15 years, then things could have changed. But the problem is they saw Teslas on the road first. They're driving. People are getting in and out of them. People are able to park them. People are charging. They're like, oh shit, looks like electric cars work. We need to do something about it. But by the time they react and build chargers, it'll take fucking 10, 20 years to do that. You know what I mean? So it's like I come to you and say to you that, hey man, um, airplanes, they're going to be on electric or some new fuel, not
Right.
oil, something else, charcoal or some shit like that. Like something is flying on some new mineral or some new thing that we dug out of the ground. People are
Mm-hmm.
going to be like, it's nice as an experiment, but we do not see planes flying on that, on this new technology. And then some fucking guy comes in, some new Elon Musk kind of guy comes in and builds a plane like that that allows you to do
Mm.
that. Like in Dubai, they have now those copters or whatever. Yes, only a small amount of people are using it, but imagine it becomes a thing. Like drones, man. People thought it was only used in warfare. Now, fucking there are drones everywhere. My my neighbor's kid, he's always trying to fly in the drone and try to record shit, and I have to keep telling him like, "Fuck, that's my privacy. Like, stay the fuck off my backyard, man." It's like, But I understand because he's a kid and everything. Chalo, he's getting excited. New piece of technology, hota hai. But thing is that definitely, the problem is that entrepreneurs or businessmen who take a lot of risk and they build something new, governments don't believe them in the beginning unless they see real results. वो जब result देखते हैं, they react to it कि चलो यार, let's incentivize them, let's build infrastructure. 10, 20 years. And most prime
So,
ministers or presidents, sorry, I'll wrap up. Most prime ministers
no.
and presidents, they are not interested in 10, 20-year plans. They're interested कि भाई अभी क्या हो सकता है.
Wow. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, before we go into more deep into this, it was a video by this YouTuber Jay's M. I watch him a lot. He makes pretty cool car videos, car reviews, and he just made a video which was very not like him about being EV poor. That means that it's actually more expensive to own a EV, and how the government in UK is making it harder for people who can't own an EV because it's so expensive to own an EV that they have to pay a tax or like a fee to be in these green
Normal
zones,
petrol cars or whatever. Yeah,
right?
green zones. Yeah.
So what he was saying was like, he being a Ferrari owner doesn't get charged in those green zones, whereas people who own like cheap old cars are getting charged. So yeah, so this was
Yeah,
regarding
you
that.
you mean to say that in the green zones you cannot drive petrol cars? In non-green zones, you
You
can in the
can,
green zone. Okay.
as long as you drive an old
Kind of weird they
Ferrari.
call it green zone, you know. So, I thought about green zone means environmental, you know.
No, of course it's
Yeah.
environmental. It's just that if you have a classic car, you can ride it.
Acha. So
Oh.
here they don't have green zones yet, but
Hmm.
I understand. But this is becoming an issue, right? There's a huge population that is living in, I guess, established areas, जिसको कहते हैं, good areas in the West. Well, the
Hmm.
suburbs over time have built themselves. You bought your property for 10,000 quid or whatever. Today is fucking worth $1 million.
Right.
Yes, the properties have gone up. That area has grown. I mean, that area has grown in wealth in terms of कि
Hmm.
भाई वहाँ housing बहुत expensive हो गई है. But the people who live in them, they're on pension now. So now you turn that zone into a green zone. Those people who are on pension in these areas who have nice heritage building there and a lot of nice old trees there, and they're trying to protect that environment. That's fine. मगर
Yeah,
problem ये है
because
कि the
they didn't
people who are living
die.
there, yeah,
Because they didn't die of COVID.
correct. So exactly. So now they're living there. Now you're gonna tax the shit out of them and
Uh-huh.
punishing them basically for being
For
someone who's
living.
not adapted to technology. Yeah, for living. Yeah. I mean
Right.
it's an anti-human.
Fuck.
I think they don't realize it, but it's definitely an anti-human. Some policies are just anti-human. They don't
Yeah.
allow human beings to flourish. So coming on the other things that I watched this week, and you shared some stuff as well. What's
So
with the that guy on the bike, bro?
what?
He does all these stunts. Fucking, he's going through,
Oh yeah. So
yeah, all the traffic. Is it in England
yeah,
or is it in Canada, or like where is it shot?
it's in Sweden. So what we are talking about is this infamous bike rider known as the Ghostrider.
Okay,
He
nobody
used to
knows who
make,
he is, obviously.
yeah, so he used to make videos before YouTube,
Yeah.
which used to be given around to all the bikers and like, done on VHS and like shared and copied and stuff. Like it was like a grassroots underground scene of like, look at this guy, how he rides his bike. So what he does is he's basically threading through the traffic at like crazy speeds, like 300 kilometers an hour, right? Like amazing control on the bike, amazing understanding of the traffic and its movement. Also, not giving a fuck about the police. Like police can't catch him. Like it's
Mm.
impossible. The way he rides it, this traffic running at like 100 kilometers an hour, and he is riding through the traffic like it's a game, you know, threading through the traffic, going through one car. There's a car who's changing lanes. He goes between those cars. And the way he does it is so smooth and so like relaxed, almost meditative,
Mm.
almost like, bring it on, boys. And like he just does it. So when I watched it, I was like, fuck, we live
I
in a
think,
simulation.
yeah. I think some people are definitely living on cheat codes. So like I think I made that comment, but some people didn't get it. So it's like this is life, okay? And within that, a normal person, a new player, if they join the game, if we are in a simulation, if this is the video game, right, and you join in, you're gonna play at normal. You're gonna find it very difficult to play it the same way or ride the same way like this guy is, right?
Uh,
So you feel like when you look at these people, they're on cheat codes. It's like when you look at Michael Phelps, the swimmer. He
yeah.
has the most amount of gold medals, right? I saw this in slow motion. They were showing it on television back in the Olympics when he was in his prime.
Hmm.
The guy is only like, if let's say this is the wall, okay, the
Hmm.
guy who's beating is about to beat him is only this far. from the wall. Michael Phelps is behind him in his lane. They're swimming. His hand is just like right here. That's where he needs to touch it to get the gold medal. This guy, in that short amount of time, comes on top of him, like in his lane, reaches, covers that distance, and actually ends up touching. And they looked at in slow motion. That guy's hand was here. It went from here to here, and that guy covered an entire bit of body, like like क्या 5 foot, 6 foot or something, like and was able to touch it. So even with Messi, there are some videos where he basically is able to accelerate at a very high speed and decelerate, stop himself at a very high speed as well. So when you do mathematically, you look at it, you go like, this is not possible. A normal human being cannot do that. Even Usain Bolt, right? So you start thinking, if we are in a simulation, these guys are on some kind of cheat code. The system has put in some code and press enter. It's like when you play video games, they give you cheat codes. You type that cheat
Yeah.
code and then you become invincible. So
No.
when I watched that video, it made me feel like either we are in a simulation and he's on cheat codes, or he is someone who actually has so much confidence or no fear of death or whatever you want to go, like the chemical flow, the dopamine or whatever is happening in his mind is giving him such a high that he is just able to, just he's in the flow.
I mean, he's
Yeah,
in the zone.
he's in the zone.
So yeah, I believe that, and this is just an opinion, that you know you gotta have mental clarity,
Mm,
healthy body,
mm,
and it just a little bit of that bravery, the bravery of
mm,
trying to
mm,
take risks. I mean, anything could have gone wrong. He was like, was
mm,
it like 20 minutes?
mm, mm,
20
mm,
minutes of continuous riding through heavy traffic in Sweden
mm,
at 300 kilometers an hour. The cops
mm, mm,
basically
mm.
wouldn't even touch him. And he did that. I think that what happens is people just become one with the nature, one with gravity, one with,
True.
light or whatever the hell that goes on. It's just interesting for me. And yeah, I mean, this is what I do. I just keep looking at these weird stuff. Uh, I
I
don't know.
guess it's a
I'm
passion
bored.
thing as well, isn't it? I mean, it's a passion thing. There's some people who cannot live any other way but that way.
Yeah, I mean, like this guy didn't have to post any of it,
Yeah.
uh, and he stopped posting it. So basically, he was like underground for 20 years,
Oh,
and
okay.
then just right now, in like end of 22 or 20, start of 23, he started posting these videos in 4K. So back
Okay,
in the
okay.
day, it was all like shaky,
Oh, okay, okay,
like
okay, okay, okay.
crazy VHS,
Mm.
standard definition.
So have the
Now
cops or
you,
anybody tried to figure out who he is and
I think
discover?
people know, but because I don't know. I don't know. I haven't researched into that much, but
Like, I'm
some
sure the
people
Swedish
know.
police or someone probably knows who he is, because when he's on the road doing it, you can probably see what the number plate is on the bike. And
But even if he doesn't have it, doesn't matter because they won't be able to catch him. I saw a video that he recently posted after this one.
oh yeah, they can't catch him. How are the cops gonna catch him like that, bro? It's not
No, no, but
possible.
check this out. So what he goes and does is he goes and he looks for Agent Smiths. Like
Mm.
this this is weird. So he goes and looks for cops. He's like fishing for cops. He goes where the cops are. And
Mm.
as soon as he
Mm.
sees the cops, he speeds up. And then some cops don't give a fuck. So in this video, he's like, first three cops he passes by, they don't have a bike, so they don't give a fuck. Then there's one cop who has a bike, starts following him.
Yeah, okay.
And then we basically see him and the cop actually the cop trying to catch up with him, and what he does is he can easily, lose the cop any
Yeah,
moment he
he can,
wants
yeah. But he purposely
to,
just, yeah.
but, but he keeps the cop close
It's
to
like
him.
Usain Bolt when he runs, he tries to just conserve his energy, not run too fast. So all
Yeah.
these guys, yeah,
Yeah, it's like just,
yeah.
oh yeah, yeah. The cop comes around him, then he goes here, there, the cop's outside. He's on the hard shoulder coming back in.
Well, I think that this is a subject matter that would make a good a show in the 70s or something, like Knight Rider. There was all these shows in the 70s and 80s, I think, 80s, Miami Vice and all that, that had this whole thing about, cars, and there's some guy, he, what is it? What's that movie, man? I can't remember. But there was a lot of car chase oriented movies, and this Ryan Gosling movie that came out, Driver, it
Mm.
basically was paying homage or kind of was in that same style of filmmaking. I mean, storytelling, that it's about a driver, he works on a movie set, or he's someone who helps people
He's a
rob
stunt
banks or
driver.
whatever, stunt driver or whatever. So there are a lot of stories of that kind where the story just involves that there's a person, he's getting away from something, and they want to catch him, and the car is the main focus of the whole thing. The Vanishing is there, then the Death Proof movie that Quentin Tarantino made.
Yeah.
That
It's
was a
all
good
about
movie, man.
stunts.
Stunts and all
So
that.
what made me excited in these kind of videos was um, watching the Ayrton Senna documentary, Senna,
Mm, mm, mm.
and then I saw his lap. Was it a qualifying lap or something that he does in Monaco? Monaco is like a F1 circuit that
Yeah.
goes through the city and has a lot of weird turns.
Mm,
And
mm,
there was a dash cam back in the day, and he was driving a Honda powered F1 car, like 1500 HP with no ABS, like crazy
mm,
shit. And then the director puts a voiceover, a narration of Ayrton Senna. This guy was like the number one F1 driver. And he says that he basically went close to God. Like it was so natural, like, like you were saying about the cheat code. It was so
mm,
natural for him to
mm,
keep the
mm,
pace, understand the machine. He became one with the machine. There was
mm,
like one with the machine, and then almost defying death, like playing with death at those high speeds. And that
mm.
that that documentary always made me go like, there's something more
Yeah,
to
but
this
why people
world.
do it, I think that's a bigger question, right? Why?
Oh, it's very simple. It's about being alpha, being the number one. It's like your parents' sperm, your
Mm,
dad's sperm. One of the sperms that won was you.
mm.
So,
I guess
so
if you look
this
at
race,
Senna, yeah,
this race
yeah,
continues. This race is continuing. So
it's a
what
mental
happens
thing.
is, there's a political race, there's a business race, and there's a man's race. There's a war like gladiator shit where the people go, oh, I'm, like
Yeah,
UFC,
battle of
I'm
ideologies, battle of,
pound to
mano a
pound,
mano,
I'm
pound to pound. Yeah.
pound pound to pound, I'm the best. And then there's this racing, like, I'm actually cheating that while being number one. I have more bigger balls than you
Mm,
to do
mm,
this.
mm,
But then you eventually have some respect among each other and stuff like that. But it's just, you know, if these people didn't have F1, they would be ruthless kings,
mm. Yeah,
just trying to.
yeah. I was watching the Senna documentary. Well, not now, but I watched it in the back in the day. And even with the Senna documentary, he is basically an alpha male, but a very the the the, the, the behavior of the person and where they sit in the hierarchy of dominance is not related. So you could have a person who is very humble, a very quiet kind of person, doesn't talk much, doesn't communicate much. When they enter a room, they have no presence. They come and sit in a corner. But when they have to get shit done or something, they are the alpha. Like it'll come out. It's like that werewolf kind of a thing. It's on the inside, but people don't expose it, right? So Senna was one of those kind of racers who basically used to drive even faster when it used to rain. And there's an interview clip in
Yeah.
the documentary when someone asked him that, like, what is your whole focus on racing? Why you race? He said that if you're gonna race, you're gonna race to win. You're gonna race number one. This whole number
Yeah.
two, number three shit is not gonna work. It doesn't work like that.
No.
If you're gonna do it proper. Otherwise, don't fucking bother. Don't even bother coming to the race if you're not willing to risk to get to that one. When you get that opportunity, you get that gap. He talks about a concept of gap. That's what separates the technical people from people who are able to communicate in a very basic way. Seneca क्या था ना, when he used to talk, he never talked in a way that is technical. Like how now a lot of sports people, especially captains, they talk in a very technical way when they lose or they
The
win.
wind was not
Yeah,
there, the
yeah.
tire
I
was
think
not
our
there.
strategy needs to work. We need to go back to the dressing room and to the locker room and talk to the boys and see what can work. I think our strategy we could have done better. Like all this bullshit, right? He goes like, you are the difference between you and a great racer is taking the gap. You see a gap, are you gonna go for it? There's a
Yeah.
gap in the road, and you can get your car fucking through it. Are you gonna do it? That's the main thing. Even Jeremy Clarkson, he said in one of the Top Gear episodes, some other place, I think it's not Top Gear, some other interview. It's on YouTube. It's got like millions of views. Small clip, and in that one he says that Formula One is shit. Now, he said that in the beginning it should be dangerous, it should be amazing, people should take risk, and now it's just pacified. It just becomes a shit sport. A bunch of people fucking driving behind each other. It doesn't even make any sense. So I think that the emancipation, is that what you call it, of all these things is happening. The what do you call, it's
No,
like,
it's not
is the
emancipation.
what is the other way? What's the
It's
suppression?
it's
Suppression of things or something like that.
yeah,
Pacification.
pacification.
Yeah, I think the pacification is happening of all these things of mental ideology, of the idea of pursuing something very passionately, whether it be in sports, in business, whatever it is, right? It's everywhere. You.
And so what I don't know if you tried it out, but I just tried out the PlayStation VR 2, virtual reality 2 goggles, and when you play Gran Turismo 7 in it, it's a complete different experience because you are basically in the matrix of that game, right? So whatever controls you're using, actually you feel like you're more into the game. The disconnect between the screen and you is gone. Just like you're in it. So you almost feel like you're doing it. So it was a good experience, and I'm pretty interested to see what happens with cinema because this virtual reality stuff um, and making movies, I believe can be very interesting personally. And I don't know how that can gel with AI. So let's say you start making real lifelike computer generated AI generated computer graphics and then tell a story which is more immersive. Um, I think that would be interesting. But anyhow, it's like when I watched that video, I was like, I have to share this. This is like the Matrix. But
It is
what
definitely
were
like that.
you
Yeah.
what were you gonna talk about today? Oh, fuck, we've been talking about shit that I'm interested in.
Yeah, no, no, it was interesting to me, the whole guy on a bike sharing that experience. But I think that there are some things that, before I move on to things that I want to talk about, The guy on the bike, right? The things that he's doing and the format that he's doing it in, the YouTuber part. You put the camera on and you do the fucking thing. It is something that can never translate into any other medium. What radio can do, television can't. What television can do, movies can't. So if you, yes, there is all this technology coming out, like VR or whatever you call, like immersion. But the thing is that the thrill of watching someone attempt something, it's like Tom Cruise. I'm sure in one of his next movies he'll be doing the same thing. He'll probably try to attempt something like that. Because that'll be like for him the ultimate pinnacle, right? Getting on a bike, because he can ride a lot of bikes. And he's done, I think, bike stunts in the third in Mission Impossible, for example. Right now, I was watching this video where he's jumping off this cliff of a
Yeah.
bike, and then the bike goes somewhere else. I mean, the bike, obviously, he loses the bike and then he opens up the parachute. Although he's doing it for real and he's done it 10, 20 times to get that shot, that sequence, when you watch it in the cinema, it'll not do anything for you. Although you know it's him. Because you know what they're doing before the movie comes out? They're actually trying to sell the fact that he's doing that stunt for real. That's all he's doing. If you think about it, there's a lot of stunts in James Bond movies that are even harder than this stunt. But the only difference is the actor's not doing it, someone else is doing it, right? If you look
Right.
at the movie that came out before this movie, the previous one, The Fallout, I think that was the name of the movie, in which that
Hmm.
the guy who plays Superman, he's in it. I can't remember his name. There's a sequence where there's a big huge cargo plane up in the air. It opens up and Tom Cruise jumps out of it with the helmet and everything. There's a cameraman that jumps with him who's shooting him. And they did that jump, I think 40, 50 times or some shit like that, right? He's jumping out. That is actually a very scary thing because if shit goes haywire up there, you're fucked. Here, thing is that yes, he's doing the whole bike thing and everything, but I think that was a more dangerous stunt. And when I watched that in the cinema, yes, Tom Cruise was in it and he jumped out. This is where the illusion breaks, right? When an actor is not doing his own stunt, someone else is doing it, the believability that the actor, the character you're watching, like James Bond, is done it, is more when Tom Cruise doing it. Now, when Tom Cruise doing it, you're not thinking Ethan Hunk is doing it. Ethan Hawke is doing it. You're thinking Tom Cruise is doing it. That's the fucking problem now. So to me, watching the movie, he's not Ethan anymore. He's not Tom Cruise. So they keep calling him Ethan, come
And
here, Ethan, go there. But in the movie, he's now completely Tom Cruise now because they before even the movie comes out, they keep selling not the story, not the character. They sell him
hmm
doing the stunt. So you're basically paying to go and do that stunt. Like in Tom Cruise Maverick, right? Is up front and center. And yes, he's flying the plane and everything. But even if he was not doing it, someone else was doing it, and it might not work in green screen. But I'm saying if they had stuntmen, even then you would watch the movie because you're watching it for Maverick and that whole Top Gun thing and the music and everything. Whereas the Mission Impossible is the other way around. Nobody gives a shit about the story, bro. People just go to watch Tom Cruise do stunts. You know what I mean?
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't watch much of
You're not missing anything, bro. You're not missing anything. The only thing you need to
okay.
watch is Top Gun. It's the best movie in the last fucking 10 years, and that's it, bro. Just sit at home, watch that movie. You rather watch that movie every month again than go and watch all these new movies that are coming out. They're so shit. Now, coming to what I want to talk to you about is Russell Brand. He went on Bill Maher, and there was
Hmm.
this guy from MSNBC sitting there, the big boss from MSNBC, and he ripped him a new one.
Hmm.
He basically said to him that
Hmm.
basically on that Bill Maher thing,
Hmm.
they talk about that how basically he said on that show in front of a live audience that all of major media, big media, apart from Fox, is leftist, and being a left is not the problem. The problem is that they're lying as well. That is the problem. That's what Russell Brand really highlights. आप लोगों को ये बोल रहे हो कि भाई आप लेफ्ट को प्रमोट कर रहे हो, लेफ्ट का खाली व्यू लेके आ रहे हो, उसमें प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. प्रॉब्लम ये है कि तुम झूठ बोल रहे हो. You're lying on television, and it's a proper a lobby, like it's a whole group that does it. Kehte, we need to stop
Right.
doing that, right? And then he questions that, and then he goes on, and then he brought up Joe Rogan as well, and then he goes on the Joe Rogan podcast,
Yeah, he
and then
basically destroys the guy.
he just destroys him. And like he made a very stupid question. He put a very stupid question to him. Oh, tell me at a time when you thought we were like, come on, bro. Like, you shouldn't have asked that question. Shouldn't have asked that
You
question.
walked into it.
Like, you
You
walked into it.
created the situation.
He created the situation for
Come,
him to,
kill
yeah,
me.
yeah, come kill me. Shouldn't have said that, you know. And
Like they were so full of themselves, either full of themselves thinking that they can counter argue, or either that, or they would just they believe in the bullshit, I guess. I don't
mm,
know. I personally think that uh no sane person would believe in the bullshit. And I think that they basically thought they can get away with the lie. But then, Russell Brand just ripped one for everybody, and he's pretty eloquent and like witty
yeah,
and
he's got a
fast.
very good command of
I
English.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, I don't agree with any like 100% of what he says, anyways. But all we know is that at least he's the one speaking up, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
And
it was interesting, very interesting. And the way things are going, I don't know, man. It's just so we are living in some interesting times. I don't know what's happening around us. There's no name for this as we go into the future. But I personally think it's
well, I think
pretty
we have a
pretty
lot of
interesting.
I think in my understanding of trying to carve out what is going on. Like if you look at the Chris Rock, not Chris Tucker, Chris Rock special, where
Yeah.
he basically,
What do you think about it?
I think it's better than all the Chappelle stuff, like the Netflix
Yeah.
specials on Chappelle.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that it is the man and the experience of man that creates the art, you know. So you gotta understand, right?
Right.
Chappelle didn't have to go through what Chris Rock went through in the last 6, 8 months. So
Yeah.
obviously he has
Yes.
so much material now and so much time to reflect on what's going on and everything to
No,
create
but
that
I
content, you know.
but I think he needed the slap. He need it was like I look at reality in a symbolic way. You know, I just go, hey, look at that. I think someone like Chris Rock needed a slap to wake him up and say, hey,
Hmm.
this shit's real. You got slapped for saying something. It was a joke. And it was a joke that was based on his wife, who had an issue that Chris Rock shouldn't be uh, hosting Oscars because Will Smith didn't get a nomination or some shit like that. I mean, I don't give a fuck about awards anyways, but culturally, it people like it, so we are talking about it.
Hmm.
I don't give a fuck. I have my own awards, you know. I like something, I say, hey, that
That thing
this
deserves
year
an
he
award.
wins.
That's it. He wins this year. That's it. Like Triangle of
He wins
Sadness,
by
I
heart.
think Triangle of Sadness is another great movie if you have time. I think the guy is a Dutch or Swedish director. I'm not literate, but that was a good movie, bro. Triangle of Sadness. But
No, I heard.
yeah, the
Didn't he
thing is,
win Palm d'Or?
oh, maybe it did. I don't know. Again, bro, I've not been following anything. And the only reason I followed the Oscars because someone got slapped. You
So
know.
there you go.
Yeah. So, but I think
As-
he calling out the wokeness. He's calling out certain things that look. A lot of artists in general are taking sides. Some people are saying that we need to, save the planet, do this, climate change. I think we know
I
those.
mean, I want to
Then there's
save
the
the
other
planet.
side. Yeah, but I think the way they're going about it is something that can be debated, definitely. And that's why all these debates are happening. It feels like we are living in a weird time, yes, but the reason why it feels this way is because we as a generation, for the first time, have experienced an event where you got all these platforms, you see, and everybody's got a mic, as I said before, and all these platforms are able to basically put their argument forward. Whether they win or not doesn't really matter. And in that, you've got people who are going to make money, people who are going to lose money, people who can set new rules for governance. New governments can come into power because of the the discourse, the dialogue that is happening. And I don't even call it discourse. It's just finger pointing and blaming each other and calling out each other names, and slapping each other, and
Interesting.
trolling or whatnot. Thing is that there is no reference point for this. In the past, our parents, let's say, if they would see an event, they could say, okay, with some consistency that this thing has happened before. Because they were living in a time when there were not that many platforms. You only had national radio and national television, and that was it. So a lot of the discourse and the dialogue was also under propaganda. They were controlling everything. Now there are too many layers. The cake has got fat. There's too many layers in it, and it's
Sure.
just not. Yeah, and there's not a lot of shit in it. It's not a very lean system anymore.
Yep. No, I hear you, but what I'm trying to say is that um, like we are in the future. We are in the future.
This is the future.
You get
That's
what I'm
that's
saying?
right. Yeah, yeah. The
We
future is happening as
are
we speak.
in the genesis of the future.
Mm, mm,
We are past being watching
mm, mm,
sci-fi,
mm.
you know? Like we are like at the horizon right now, you know, of something very interesting that's gonna happen. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm just an observer. As an observer, I see things and, you know, things make me kind of go, hey, I don't know. I think that people are waking up to it. But yeah, the fact that Chris Rock did a whole show to call out wokeness and be as politically incorrect as possible makes me think that we are past that. I think that the change is here. So we are in a new future, a more free future if this continues. That's what I think.
Mm. Yeah, I think it will continue. A lot of people have a very simple answer to this. Like my other friends, they go, like, "Oh, as soon as a new president comes in, elections happen, things will be fine. As soon as inflation goes back to normal, I don't know, man, what these guys have been drinking or smoking, but nothing is going back to the way it was. The people just don't fucking get it. They need to get it into their head that things are not going to go back the way things were before COVID. People have this thought process. They think, oh, before, I remember when Trump was there. After Trump, they said, oh, when Biden comes in, everything will go back to normal. Price will come down. All the activity that's going on the internet will calm down. People will calm down. Biden came, fuck all, nothing happened. Things actually became worse.
Became
Now,
worse, yeah.
yeah, now they're saying the opposite, that Trump will come back, and if he comes back, or DeSantis, whoever wins, things will probably go back to the Trump era, and things will be the same how things were when Trump was in power. It will not be any which way. It'll be anything but that. It'll never be
Yeah,
the
it's
same
it's
as
all
how it was during
economics,
Trump's time.
man. It's all
It doesn't work
economics.
like
I've
that, man.
always,
Yeah.
but I have always told this. This is all economics.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
what we are seeing is a controlled collapse
mm,
of the economic order and currencies. So, for example, yesterday, the Bank of Canada, which is uh, one of
mm,
the most
mm.
inflated markets in the world. Like I think it's more inflated than Australia. They didn't increase the interest rate, and because they didn't increase the interest rates, the value of the Canadian dollar just went down. Now everything that Canadians have to buy that comes from outside of Canada becomes more expensive, which leads to more inflation. And
Mm,
people don't
mm,
get it.
mm,
People
mm.
don't get it. For them, it's like, oh, oh, at least the interest rate's not going up. I can still pay my mortgage. Yeah, you can pay the mortgage at the same rate, which is already too high now. But your other stuff that you buy, like your groceries that comes from US and other parts of the world, has just gone up in price. Your gas has gone up in price because gas doesn't come from here. Gas comes out from other places. So now you have to pay more Canadian dollars to buy all this stuff. So this thing is going to happen. And I think that we are going to see something very interesting culturally and
Culturally, yeah. As
politically.
about man, you literally stole the word out of my mouth. Culturally, I think that the Chris Rock special is gonna change comedy. It was actually that groundbreaking because, I mean, it's not gonna. I mean, people are gonna comics are gonna do their stand-ups the way they do. But what I'm saying is that now there's Chappelle when he did it. You understand, Chappelle is like this goat who can say anything on camera. He can come on stage and say anything and it'll fly because he's got his own style. Like he's got his own unique place in stand-up comedy, right? But Chris Rock is like one of those Kevin Hart or I mean Chris Rock is obviously better than a lot of them. What I'm saying is that he's in that mainstream where entertainment is more than just the commentary. But now he switched it. He's made it. He's found that perfect balance of entertainment and commentary. You see, so he's basically taken that thing and made it mainstream. Now it allows other like Tom Segura and other what do you call Ari Sheffer and Brian Schultz, for example. They all have their own style of doing comedy. But I think now stand-up comedy can actually go into that realm of being very, very critical of the politics. Panic although they would make a lot of satire,
But
sarcastic comments.
he's a capitalist. He does not pretend to be a socialist.
Yeah,
He's a
yeah,
pure capitalist, and he talks in this special about, being rich and how he treats his family. And he ends the special with niggas in Paris,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
with
yeah.
with Kanye's niggas in Paris, just to show that hey, stop being a victim,
Stop playing the
stop
victim
crying
card.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made a lot of money. I'm being a black person. I made a lot of
Mm,
money.
yeah.
But what's going on is you are having an outrage over things that don't matter, and um, you are not having an outrage on things that matter. So I think it's even though he's politically left, kinda, uh, I think I would say center left, right? But at the same time, he understands that someone's got to speak. And he's not only left to Dave Chappelle, Joe Rogan, and all these other
Yeah. Yeah.
comedians to
Mm.
say now it's like even Chris Rock, the blackest of all, biggest, like he doesn't give a fuck. If you look at if you listen to his old stuff, he basically says shit that is cancelable right now. Like if it was said by somebody else,
Mm.
it would have been canceled. He says stuff like, "Hey, when the cops come, don't act like a fucking, asshole." Like we all know cops are kind of sometimes discriminatory. How do if you don't want to get in jail, you got to do it
I,
this way,
I, I
be
think
polite.
it depends on the community as well. A lot of different countries have a very different, set of cops. You know, like it's also I think a top-down thing as well. It's a history also matters because let's say I mean America's history is very unique compared to any other country, right? So like in Australia we have there have been cases where the cops haven't or the people in the emergency services they haven't treated well, or there's been some kind of tension between the refugee population or the indigenous population जो है ऑस्ट्रेलिया में, with the establishment or but the issue is that the a lot of the problems that are stemming in America, they have a deeper root rather than just administration का ही problem नहीं है. It's not just a bunch of people in uniform in the office. It's also to do with the history of the thing as well. If you don't address the history of why this is all happening, and it's been happening for a long time, bro. Since
Yeah, but
60s,
it
70s
doesn't
से
matter.
चल रहा है,
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter, dude. If you stop a white guy is not gonna act like an idiot.
Mm.
That's what Chris Rock in '90s came out with. He's like,
Mm,
hey,
mm, mm,
stop acting like an idiot. You know they have power over you.
yeah.
I'm not saying that they're good people, but if you don't want to get shot,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He makes all the even
follow these rules.
Dave Chappelle also made that joke, right? Always have a white boy in your car, like wherever you go, have a white friend because you need it. Like,
Yeah,
so excuse me. Yeah, but I think then again, do you believe that you said the word culture? Culture is going to change a lot of things. It's a lot of exciting stuff is going to happen. But apart from this comedy has always been changing. Actually, if you think about stand-up comedy, it's all about the personality of the person who's going to stand on the stage, and then they. But it's kind of a bit of a loop, right? Because he got slapped, there was an expectation that whenever he does his next special, he has to address it. It's like the elephant in the room. He can't just walk in and just do jokes about everything else and not talk about that. He has to. So I guess he's been able to
but
take
he
the entire
hasn't.
thing. Yeah.
But he hasn't done anything interesting before
Since
this.
before getting slapped,
Before
you mean?
this. Before this special, he hasn't done any special. Like, okay. This is how I see it. These comedians are there to make fun of the system, fun of the rulers. That's what comedians have been there for ages. It's
Hmm.
been there in the courts of kings, so that the king gets a message from the people, because the comedian, the joker, kind of with comedy uh, exposes kings' shortcomings, right? So whatever we experienced in the past, we're in 2023, so since 2016, we're in seventh year, so 7 years of crap, of all this politically correct stuff. I haven't seen anything interesting other than Dave Chappelle, Joe Rogan. Like, nothing interests me. This, the axis of stand-up comedy. Like, I
Mate,
remember
you're just
back in the
bored, man.
day.
You're extremely bored. I
No,
understand what you
I'm
mean
bored.
when you, yeah, because they're not
I'm bored
doing something new.
because it's not relevant. When it's not relevant, I'm not interested.
Please
Why
explain,
did
bro.
I
What do you
go and
mean?
watch?
What do you mean not relevant, bro?
So the fact that he got slapped, and we all know the reason he got slapped by a
Yeah.
guy who basically was a cuck, right? And he wasn't violent to the perpetrator. If he was a real man, he would have been violent to the person who did that and fucking divorced his wife. Uh, he never did that. And the guy who made fun of his wife because she was mean to him,
Mm.
which is stupid, and he got slapped because of that, kind of goes, okay, this shit is getting personal now. This thing is like, he starts with that, oh, people say that, hey, words hurt, they need to get punched in the face, right? So I think it's a good uh, uh, an allegory for what the society needed. and this was being bold. That's why you want to watch it. If I want to watch Chris Rock do some lame fucking jokes, I'm not interested. I'm not interested. Reality is more funny than any stand-up comedian right now. To me, I'm laughing. It's almost like a,
True, true. So I mean, my son is
it's
here
all,
now.
it's
Hold on.
almost, it's almost like
Uh,
a
I
Stanley
think,
Kubrick movie.
yeah, but then again, what I think, yes, I understand that is not, they're not addressing, they're not relevant to our times. But the problem is, I think the reason why they're boring and they're not gauging your interest or most people's interest is because they're avoiding the issue. I mean, it kind of answers your question. I mean, in sense that I'm giving you a
Well,
reason that
that's
the
what I'm
reason why
saying.
it's not like they're not creative, they're purposely avoiding it, and they're trying
That's what
to,
I'm saying. I
yeah,
listen. There are a lot of people who are creative, right?
true.
At every level. Like a small stand-up comedian in front of 10 people in some bar in some city is as funny as the best one, but
They didn't make it, like they didn't get the
he's not
spotlight.
there.
Yeah.
He's not there.
Mm,
The guy
mm,
who's there
mm,
is not
mm,
doing his job.
mm, mm,
You
mm,
get what I mean?
mm,
So finally we are like, okay, this is interesting. I'll go on Netflix,
mm,
you
mm,
know.
mm,
I'll
mm.
basically pay for this month just to go watch Chris Rock say some shit, you know.
Mm, mm.
Um, Same goes with movies, like with Top Gun. Why did I go watch Top Gun? I was like, hey,
The funny thing about the slap is, um, I understand that you're saying, yeah. I mean, Top Gun was definitely a very good movie, but I was
so
still not able to
Top
understand.
Gun.
It's not really relevant, though, if you think about it.
See that
Yeah.
you are seeing it from a point of view of like geopolitics. I'm
Okay.
seeing it point of psychology.
Mm.
Why did we watch movies back in the day? I didn't watch movies to, oh, we need some freedom from the tyranny of
Social
people.
commentary नहीं चाहिए. Yeah. Just
We
want
want
escapism.
social commentary. There's a movie for social commentary. You go and fucking watch it in these art house cinemas, you know. We'll go watch a Iranian neo-realist
Or a
movies,
movie about
you
they
know,
try to take away your stove and then you
or some
create
French movie
it. Yeah,
in
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Cannes
Yeah.
in a film festival or some fucking night in a hotel room,
Mm.
you know, and you're going through some shit and you have time to kill.
Yeah.
You go, okay, whatever's on, I'll watch it. But then there are big movies, and it didn't have any agenda. It
True.
just had like, hey, this is the cultural situation right now. People, the North American mindset was a fuck you mindset. So, oh, by the way, so I didn't. So, in Quebec, there was a judge ruled today or yesterday that you have a God-given right to show the middle finger to anybody you want, even though it's rude and impolite. You have a God-given, and I was like, okay, where was the doubt? Like, who gives a like? We all know
Mm.
we have this right. We
Yeah.
can show this. This is the North American way.
Yeah.
So basically, a neighbor, in somewhere in Quebec, one person showed a middle finger to his neighbor. The neighbor called the cops on him, got the guy charged, arrested, and then he had to be bailed out. And then there was a court case, and in that court case, the judge
The
comes
judge
on and
says you
says,
can do that.
"You have
Yeah.
a go."
But
So
now
the
they have a
whole
precedence now.
pro.
Yeah.
No, but dude, you don't need pres. This is like
I understand.
fucking.
Yeah. Dude, in
It's
Australia,
it's
you if
like
you show a fist to someone, they can do a case on you. If you spit at
What?
someone, like yeah, if you show someone a fist, that is
Oh boy.
that is an act of violence. I mean, they don't prosecute you, but it is against the law to do that. You know what I mean? Dude,
Oh,
you can't drive your car with having a hand outside the, on the side of the window. I think I told you
what do you
that.
mean? That's fucking
It's
so
like while you're driving,
un-Australian.
you can't. Yeah, yeah, you put the window down, you put your hand out. Technically, they
Fucking
can.
idiot.
Technically, you're breaking a law, but they don't. But they don't stop you. You know what I mean? Technically, if they want to, they
Aren't
can
you on
stop
the
you, but
left? Or you're on the right side.
I'm on the
You're
right side.
smoking a fag. You're
Yeah.
smoking a
So
fag.
you smoke with your right and you drive with the left, like jerking off. You
Yeah.
jerk off with the left. Another thing is
No,
this. Yeah.
but is
Uh,
it sensible?
I think that's the thing. If it's sensible, they don't stop you. But thing is, if they really want to pick a bone, if you are gonna have
It,
a cop or someone who's a part of the system and they want to fuck you, there are so many things that they can fuck you on. They have so many rules. They don't choose not to prosecute people. That's what I'm saying. It's like what I think. Let's end it on this note, right? When you're talking about he getting slapped and he did the, I don't know why we made it about Chris Rock, but I kind of felt like after watching it, no, it was not about the content. It is the realization of what he went through. It's actually making a lot. It's actually adding a lot of value to him. He as a person is lucky to get fucking slapped because it allowed him to become that person that he is today. Like Mike Tyson was saying that Mike Tyson has this quote. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. So that's what happened. He had a plan for his life. He gets slapped in the face, and now it's completely changed, whether he likes it or not. Right? It's such a beautiful thing. Someone has actually said that quote 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, when they were in their prime, right? And nobody understood what it means. Like, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. If you're a fighter, you're someone is a doer, someone who actually has a plan, someone who is in life trying to do something, whether not just in martial arts, right? If you get punched in the face, what is it doing is it's actually changing your entire trajectory. You're lucky to get punched in the face because then it allows you to change things, to flip things, flipping that switch.
right.
So I think that
No, I
happened.
hear you. I'm just saying that eventually it's more interesting to watch entertainment at a bigger level because that way at least the big guys are they are speaking up. It's when the big guys stop speaking up, it gets scary. It's like, hey,
Yeah,
why these celebrities are not speaking up?
yeah, yeah.
Maybe, like it's basic tenets of fucking
Mm,
freedom of speech. I mean,
yeah.
I've been on this since fucking, I don't know, I've been calling out uh, the censorship, I think, since 2012, when Obama was there. And I
I
felt
think it's
that,
become more prevalent now. People are becoming more aware of censorship. That there's so, but there's
yeah,
a lot of.
because
I think there is more self censorship than censorship. Maybe
that's
that's
the
a topic
worst.
for the next
That's
podcast.
what I'm gonna say is, listen, I said a specific name of the song
What's the same the song?
that you, this name of the song that comes in the end of the Chris Rock stand-up by
Oh yeah, yeah,
Kanye
yeah, yeah.
West.
Yeah, the Kanye West
So
one.
might be a good idea to,
I thought you sent me something in WhatsApp. Yeah, yeah.
no, might be a good idea to like kind of,
Well, well, again, it'll become an entire different podcast. There's a very classic song. I think it goes a bit like. When I was young, life was so beautiful, wonderful, you know, natural. People.
yeah,
When I was young, blah, blah,
uh,
blah. And then in that way
super
he says,
truck.
people, yeah, super. And they told me that I need to behave, stop being cynical. I need to get, go to school, go to college, do my part. Like these things have been experienced by artists in the past, and they've put it into their songs and books. And George Orwell and all these people, they've already seen all of it. And the great part is they know how it's going to end because they've seen it and they've written it down. You see? So if you can't take away something from those books and songs, then you're kidding yourself thinking that history is not going to repeat itself. I think history is going to repeat itself. but
I
it's
mean,
just
I'm
gonna be a
not
different
denying
flavor.
it.
Yeah, it's just gonna be a different flavor.
I'm
Yeah.
not denying it. I always said
And
that,
neither can deny or confirm.
I always said that where George Orwell fucked up was that in his book, it's more like everybody's wearing the same clothes.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just the
more, I think,
only thing
for.
is that everybody's wearing
I think
different
he got
colors
that
of
from North
clothes.
Korea. I think because at that time North Korea and all that was going on, or I think Korean wars were going on. So I think he got that from the
No,
communist
Korean, the
socialist. Yeah,
Soviet.
they were all wearing those clothes. At least if they, yeah, their leadership was doing that. All the people in the
So,
leadership, they were wearing the
so
same
where he
clothes, safari
fuck,
suits.
so where he fucked up was he forgot to mention that it's not how you wear it, what you wear. It can be implemented in any society,
Yeah,
even a free society.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you
yeah.
don't have to go to the lengths of making everybody wear the same thing, make everybody go anger, oh, go for a
Yeah.
special time to. That's
All right.
completely dystopian. But what's happening is the same thing. It's just in a more realistic way.
Mm. All right, bro. I'm gonna wrap up.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to talk to you about the Rubin Report and the Joe Rogan and Russell Brand podcast that I listened to, but could not squeeze it in today. But I'm glad we talked about the Chris Rock thing, and although it's kind of like not really related to the slap, it was more looking into that how his the things that he's been talking about, and overall the whole idea of um, are we living in a simulation, and how interesting the future will be. But I mean, we are living in a future, तो सही कह रहा है. All right, bro. We'll talk soon. Ciao.
All right, man. See ya.
See ya, bro.
All right.